The sun warmed the quiet suburban street, filling the air with the smell of fresh-cut grass and summer hope. On the corner sidewalk stood a small lemonade stand made from two wooden crates and a piece of cardboard decorated with colorful hand-drawn lemons. Behind it, 10-year-old Amara Johnson stood proudly, her braids tied with yellow ribbons that matched the bright lemon slice printed on her t-shirt. She had spent the entire morning squeezing lemons with her tiny hands, tasting each batch to make sure the balance was perfect. Not too sour, not too sweet. With every cup she carefully poured, she imagined the smile it might bring someone. The cash box next to her held only a few bills and coins, but to her it felt like a treasure chest. Each dollar meant she was a step closer to buying the perfect birthday gift for her dad. Silver cufflinks engraved with his initials, the kind he'd never buy for himself because he always said, "You and the bills come first." She wanted to give him something special for once, something that said she saw how hard he worked and how much she loved him. Every time footsteps approached, Amara straightened her posture, ready with her cheerful greeting. "Hi, would you like to try my lemonade? It's just $1." Most people smiled, some stopped and bought a cup, others waved and hurried by. No matter what, she kept smiling. Her father always taught her, hard work, respect, and patience build success. The stand wasn't just a stand, it was her beginning. A couple of neighbors walking their dog stopped to buy lemonade. "This is delicious," one woman said, dropping $1 into the box. Pride lit up Amara's face. She wiped her hands on a napkin and stood a little taller. She felt like a real business owner, one who could make things happen. She imagined giving her dad the gift, imagined his surprised smile and the tight hug afterward. That picture alone kept her heart full. The afternoon breeze fluttered her cardboard sign. She smoothed it gently, determined that today would be the day she'd make enough. Her shoulders were a little sunburnt, her throat dry, but quitting wasn't even a thought. She watched cars pass, her hope rising with every brake light that flashed. Any one of them could stop. Any one of them could help make her dad's birthday unforgettable. Amara didn't know yet that this day would test her confidence. She didn't know that someone was coming who would laugh at her dream. But she was ready for whatever happened next. Because she wasn't just selling lemonade. She was building a future, one paper cup at a time. A sleek black luxury car rolled up, its chrome grille gleaming like the smile of someone who thinks they own the world. The engine hummed with power before shutting off, and the driver door opened with slow, dramatic confidence. A man in an expensive tailored suit stepped out, adjusting his cufflinks like the sidewalk wasn't beneath his level. His shoes alone looked like they cost more than Amara's entire stand. He glanced at her setup and sneered before he even approached. Amara lit up with her warmest business smile. "Hi, sir. Would you like some lemonade? It's only $1 and extra cold." The man, Mr. Pratt, let out a laugh that sounded more like a cough of disbelief. He walked closer, sunglasses reflecting her tiny stand like a joke punchline. "This?" he said, waving a hand dismissively. "This is what you call a business?" Amara blinked, unsure if he was serious. "Yes, sir. I made everything myself." He bent down slightly like he needed to get on her level to properly insult her. "Sweetheart, no one wants lemonade from a kid who doesn't even know how business works." She felt her heart drop a little, but she didn't want him to see it. "Lots of people liked it," she said softly. "I'm saving money for a gift for my dad." Pratt grinned wider, cruelty dripping off every word. "Ah, how adorable. You think this lemonade is going to buy anything valuable? Maybe a dollar store trinket." Amara hugged her cup pitcher closer to herself, as if he might knock it over just to prove a point. "It's a special gift," she whispered. He straightened up and shook his head with disgust. "Let me give you a real lesson. If you want to succeed, you don't do this." He flicked a finger toward her sign like it was trash. "Success is built by grown-ups with brains and real jobs. Your dad should get one of those and buy his own gifts." The sidewalk suddenly felt colder. Amara's throat tightened, but she forced herself not to cry. She bit her lip so hard it almost hurt. "You're being mean," she finally said, voice small but steady. Pratt chuckled at the accusation. "I'm being honest. And here's another honest tip. Pack it up and go home. You're just wasting your time and embarrassing yourself." For a moment, the world felt too big, and she felt too small. She looked away, blinking fast, trying to push the tears back where they belonged. The cash box felt heavier now, like doubt had climbed inside. Still, a tiny spark remained, the one her dad always called her fighter flame. She straightened the cups, wiped the table one more time, and whispered quietly to herself, I am not giving up. Pratt saw that spark and scoffed, climbing back into his shiny car with an arrogant smirk, certain he had crushed her confidence. But he was wrong. Something, someone, was already on the way who would prove just how wrong he was. While Mr. Pratt rolled his eyes and reached for his steering wheel, a couple walking their dog slowed to a stop near the lemonade stand. They had seen the whole interaction, and their disapproving frowns were aimed squarely at him. The woman crouched to meet Amara's height, her voice soft and kind. I'd love a cup of lemonade, sweetheart. It smells delicious. Amara blinked in surprise. Then her smile broke through again like sunshine after rain. She poured carefully, adding ice, handing the cup over with both hands. $1, please, she said, remembering her sales script perfectly. The woman dug into her purse and pulled out a 5. Keep the change, she said. Consider it an investment in your business. Amara placed the bill gently into the cash box, heart lifting a little higher. Then, a jogger slowed down, breathing hard but grinning. You still open? He asked. Amara nodded eagerly. Yes, super cold lemonade. A cup for me then, he said, handing her $2 without waiting for change. Two boys on bikes skidded to a stop next, already digging into their pockets. I want one. Me too. Amara's hands moved quickly but carefully, pouring, smiling, thanking. With every cup she sold, the cash box grew fuller, hope growing braver. Mr. Pratt, still sitting in his fancy car, watched the growing line with annoyance spreading across his face. It clearly bothered him that his insults didn't bury her. They watered her spirit instead. He rolled down his window again and called out loudly, making sure everyone heard him. Oh, look, charity is trending today. A few heads turned toward him with raised eyebrows, their eyes no longer admiring the luxury car or the expensive suit. They stared with judgment. Amara swallowed. She didn't want to cry again. Not in front of him. Not in front of her customers. So she lifted her chin and said in the clearest voice she could manage, People buy because they like my lemonade. And because I worked hard, that's all. The jogger gave her a proud thumbs up. The older couple nodded supportively. More neighbors began to gather, curious, protective, ready to buy. Pratt's mockery had sparked something unexpected, a community defending a little girl's dream. But in his arrogant mind, he refused to accept defeat. He stepped out of his car again, adjusting his jacket like he was preparing for a business meeting that only he was invited to. You have no idea what real success looks like, he said, voice full of acid. Your dad should... He didn't get to finish, because at that exact moment, a familiar truck turned onto the street. Amara's face lit up brighter than the sun. Daddy! Her father was here. And the lesson Mr. Pratt was about to learn? It would taste a lot more sour than lemonade. The pickup truck rolled to a gentle stop along the curb, dust trailing behind it like a banner of hard work. The driver door opened and out stepped Marcus Johnson, boots worn from long hours on construction sites, safety vests still on, shirt damp with the evidence of an honest day's labor. He looked tired, but the moment his eyes found his daughter, that exhaustion melted away. Amara ran to him full speed, throwing her arms around his waist. Marcus laughed, lifting her easily off the ground. Look at you, he said, pride glowing in his voice. Entrepreneur of the year. She giggled, the earlier hurt already softening under the warmth of his presence. Marcus looked at the neatly arranged cups, the perfectly handwritten sign, the lemons cut with effort, only small hands could give. Wow, he said softly. You did all this. All by myself, she said proudly. And I sold a bunch already. Before Marcus could praise her further, a scoffing sound leaked from behind him. Pratt crossed his arms and stepped forward like he had something valuable to add. She's wasting her time, he said. No one wants lemonade from a kid who doesn't know real business. Marcus turned slowly, his expression shifting. No longer soft, fatherly amusement, but protective alertness. His eyes locked onto Pratt with a look that instantly demanded respect. Excuse me? Marcus asked, voice calm but edged like steel. Pratt smirked, as if ready to educate a fool. I was just telling your daughter she would be better off giving up. Success is for people who actually know what they're doing. This little sidewalk hobby isn't going to take her anywhere. Marcus stepped between his daughter and the businessman, his posture broadening, stance unshakable. Is that so? He said quietly. You think tearing down a child is teaching her about success? Pratt shrugged, completely unaware of the shift in power he was stepping into. Someone needed to let her know the truth. This isn't how the world works. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His silence was enough to make the neighbors watch even closer, sensing something important unfolding. He knelt by Amara, placing a strong hand on her shoulder. Don't listen to anything this man says. You're doing something amazing here. You set a goal, you're working for it, and I've never been more proud. Amara looked up at him, tears shining but not falling, because he caught them before they ever had a chance. Marcus stood again, now facing Pratt fully. You can keep your opinions to yourself. My daughter doesn't need permission from a stranger to dream. Pratt scoffed, trying to save face. Well, maybe she should learn who she's talking to. I'm the CEO of Pratt Financial Group. I deal with real success, not paper cups and magic markers. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. Recognition. It was subtle, controlled, deadly. Oh, he said slowly, as if tasting the irony. So, you're that Pratt. Pratt puffed up proudly. Yes, maybe you've heard of us. Marcus nodded once, letting the tension stretch deliciously. Oh, I've heard of you, he said. In fact, I was hired just last week to take over the construction management of your new headquarters, the one that's been delayed for months. Pratt blinked. His confidence cracked. Marcus took one step forward, lowering his voice just enough for silence to fall over the entire crowd. So, let's get something straight, he said. The next time you feel like laughing at my kid's business, remember that her father's business is the only reason yours is still standing. Pratt's jaw hung open, utterly silenced. Amara looked up at her dad, pride blooming bigger than any insult could crush. Today, she wasn't just protected, she was validated. Pratt stood frozen, his polished facade cracking inch by inch as the weight of Marcus's words settled on his shoulders. The same man who had just mocked a child for dreaming now found himself standing eye to eye with the person who held the success of his own company in his hands. His throat tightened. For the first time since he stepped out of his luxury car, he could not find a single clever insult. Marcus didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He simply looked at Pratt with a steady calm that said everything. Know your place. You didn't know who I was, Marcus continued, voice low but commanding. But that's the point, isn't it? You shouldn't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. Pratt swallowed hard. I thought she was just what? Marcus cut in because there was no version of that sentence that made Pratt look better. He angled his body slightly enough that Pratt had to look past him to see Amara, standing tall behind her stand, hurt fading into defiance. Just a little girl trying to build something? Just someone whose success doesn't look like yours yet? Pratt's eyes flickered to the sidewalk, unable to meet the truth in front of him. Neighbors who had gathered watched closely now, their expressions firm. They'd heard every word, and they were no longer bystanders. They were witnesses. Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Pratt and the silence could hear. The foundation of your headquarters might be shaky, Pratt, but the foundation of my daughter's work ethic? He placed his hand gently on the lemonade table. Solid as concrete. Amara peeked around her dad, shoulders straightening, her chin lifting ever so slightly. She wasn't just comforted. She was empowered. Pratt tried to salvage what little pride he had left. I apologize, he said, tripping over the word like it was foreign in his mouth. That wasn't my intention. Marcus stared at him with a calm that burned hotter than anger. Your intention was to feel bigger by making her small. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Agreement, support, a wave of validation that washed right over Amara's heart. Marcus didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply told the truth. And that was enough to flatten the businessman completely. Pratt cleared his throat, voice thin. If there's anything our company can offer to... Marcus shut it down with a simple shake of his head. There's only one thing she needs from you. Pratt blinked nervously. Walk away, Marcus said. And next time you see a child working toward a goal, let them. Pratt nodded quickly, a man who had finally learned who actually commanded respect on this sidewalk. He stepped back, silent now, his expensive shoes looking ridiculous beside the determination of one little girl. Amara reached for a fresh cup, pouring lemonade with renewed energy, her smile returning, but different this time, stronger. She didn't just regain her confidence. She earned the kind of confidence no insult could ever steal again. Pratt lingered awkwardly near his car, pretending to check his phone, pretending he still had dignity left to protect. But every passing second made it clearer. No one was paying attention to him anymore. The crowd had turned their backs on arrogance and gathered around ambition instead. Two teenagers on bikes rolled up and ordered a cup each, placing crumpled bills into Amara's cash box. A dad walking his toddler bought one too, letting the little boy hold the cup proudly, like he had just supported the most important cause in the city. Word spread fast. Cars slowed, windows rolled down, hands reached out with cash. Neighbors who had never stopped here before now crossed the street just to buy a cup. Not out of pity, out of respect. Amara worked non-stop, wiping down the table, filling cups, counting change carefully, her small fingers trembling not from nerves anymore, but excitement. Her dream wasn't crawling to life, it was running. Marcus stood beside her like the proudest bodyguard alive. Every time she made a sale, his smile stretched wider, the sparkle in his eyes growing brighter. She glanced up at him between customers, soaking in a look she would remember her whole life. A father seeing his child shine. A woman in a crisp blouse hurried over, waving a $10 bill. "One for me, one for my daughter," she said, glancing sharply in Pratt's direction. "This is the best lemonade in town." The crowd murmured in agreement. People weren't just buying lemonade, they were supporting bravery. Mr. Pratt finally forced himself forward again, but not with arrogance this time. His steps were hesitant, shoulders small, ego deflated. He cleared his throat. "I truly am sorry," he said quietly to Marcus, but his eyes flicked toward Amara. "To both of you." Amara paused mid-pour. She didn't give him anger. She didn't even give him attention. She simply turned back to her customers and said, "Thank you for supporting my business." The crowd cheered. Pratt stood there, realizing his apology no longer mattered. It couldn't undo his cruelty. Respect isn't something you get to reclaim just because you finally asked for it politely. He had become invisible. Marcus finally addressed him without looking away from his daughter. "People like you measure success by the size of a paycheck," he said. "But real success?" He nodded toward Amara. "It starts with courage to work for what you want." Pratt swallowed hard, understanding that every word was true, and directed precisely where it belonged. One more customer stepped up with a $20 bill. "Keep the change," he said to Amara. She beamed in pure joy. The once empty box now overflowed with bills, enough to do so much more than buy a pair of cufflinks. Marcus wrapped a gentle arm around his daughter's shoulders. "You did this," he whispered. No businessman's insult could change that. No apology could claim credit for it. Amara had turned a sidewalk into success, and she was just getting started. Pratt quietly backed away, slipping into his expensive car. No one noticing, no one caring, because the spotlight no longer followed wealth. It followed heart. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the neighborhood in warm gold as Amara counted the final bills on the table. Her eyes widened with every number she whispered under her breath. When she finished, she looked up at her dad, breath catching with excitement. "I made more than I needed," she said, voice trembling with disbelief. "I can get the cufflinks, and maybe even take you out for dinner, too." Marcus's chest tightened, but not from exhaustion this time, from overwhelming pride. He crouched down and gently took her hands into his. "Baby girl, you already gave me the best gift," he said softly. "You believed in yourself, even when someone tried to tear you down." Amara threw her arms around his neck, squeezing hard. In that hug lived every late night Marcus spent working overtime. Every school morning he made sure she had breakfast. Every sacrifice he never mentioned. Neighbors nearby smiled warmly at the moment. They had watched a little girl fight for her dream and win. As they packed up the lemonade stand, Marcus insisted on carrying most of the load. Amara held her cash box tight against her chest, a treasure not made of riches, but resilience. Across the street, Pratt's car engine revved. He lingered for a second, watching the father and daughter walk away together. For the first time in a long time, he felt something uncomfortable but necessary. Shame followed by self-reflection. He drove off silently, no arrogance in the rearview mirror, just a lesson riding shotgun. Marcus and Amara strolled home hand in hand, their shadows stretching long on the pavement. Every step felt lighter than the one before. Amara looked up, smiling a smile too big for her face. Daddy, she asked, do you think I can have a real business someday? Marcus looked down at her, eyes full of certainty. You already do, he said. And someday, you might run the biggest business in the whole city. She giggled, the kind of a giggle that comes from knowing a dream is possible. When they reached their driveway, Amara looked back at the street corner where her stand had been. Earlier, it was just a table with cardboard signage. But now, she saw something more, a place where she proved herself. Because today didn't end with someone laughing at her lemonade. It ended with the world recognizing her worth. She had shown a cruel businessman that success cannot be judged by height, age, or clothing. It is judged by heart, by determination, by courage to keep pouring when someone tries to spill your cup. Amara didn't just make money today. She made a statement. And the man who tried to silence her, he left speechless.